It is officially the anniversary of me buying and moving into my first ever home. Yay! Or boo. Was buying a house the dumbest thing I've ever done? This is the question that's rattling around in my brain and has been rattling around in my brain since day one. So let's talk about the finances of owning a home, the emotions of owning a home, and whether or not 1 year in, I regret becoming a homeowner. Hey y'all, I'm Kara Perez, founder of Bravely Go, author of Money for Change, a book about finances and sustainable living, and now homeowner for 1 year. And if you're thinking about becoming a homeowner, make sure to hit the thumbs up on this video because I'm about to tell you every single dollar I've spent on my house in the last year. Honestly, y'all, it has been a journey. It has been a ride. It has been an adventure. One that I thought I was ready for, but now I imagine I feel much like many parents feel when you're like, I want to become a parent. I've read a lot of books. I've spent time with kids. And then you have your own and you're like, nothing could have prepared me. I really am someone who loves to do my research. I spent 10 years saving for a house. I talked to a lot of homeowners. I went through the house buying process with several of my friends. And yet, when it came down to buying and moving in and actually managing my own home, truly, I felt just like, wow, smacked in the face by the reality of home ownership. Now, that's not to say that everything has been bad. It's just been a lot. And to go from being a renter for my entire life or living in my mom's house to now being the one who's in charge, it's a big change. Especially because I bought my house by myself. So it's just my name on the deed, my name on the mortgage. Even though my partner lives with me, he is not a part of this ownership package. And that means that I am the one who does all of the research when it comes to, oh, there's something wrong with the house. I need to find someone who can fix it. I need to price compare. I need to understand what the problem is so I don't get ripped off. That's all on ya, girl. And it's just a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's just a lot of work. Let's start off with some of my numbers. I bought my house a year ago for $300,000. I put 10% down, which is $30,000, and then closing costs were an additional $10,000. So it was $40,000 just to be able to move in to my home. My house is 690 square feet. It is over 100 years old. It does not have central air conditioning. So if you hear that little humming in the background, that is my window unit pumping along, trying to keep me cool on this very hot summer day. And I've been here a year. What has happened in that year? How much have I spent in that year? And a year in, would I buy this house again? Do I regret becoming a homeowner? Let's start with the pros of owning a house. I like it. As someone who's moved a lot in her adulthood and who bought a house on the later end of my larger friend group, I really do find a lot of peace and a lot of joy in being a homeowner. I know I don't have to move. For the last decade of my life, anytime I had lived someplace for a year, I had to move. So the year would go by and at the end of it, I'm packing up a truck, I'm putting everything in boxes, and I'm on to another place. And this year, on my 1 year anniversary, I'm not packing anything. The peace of mind that comes with that and that comes with knowing next year at this time, I'm not gonna have to move. The year after that, at this time, I'm not gonna move. Truly, I don't even know if I can put a price on that. That has felt so good and so satisfying. Piggybacking off of that, another big pro is that I can do whatever I want here. I can paint the walls, I can put up wallpaper, I can plant native wildflowers in my front yard, I can put a vegetable garden in my backyard. I don't have to ask anyone for permission to make changes, and I don't have to take the changes down at the end of a lease because there is no lease. And finally, I think the third biggest pro is that I am happy to be on the property ladder. I bought my house in Massachusetts. The Northeast is very famously an extremely expensive place to live, and housing ain't getting cheaper, especially as we see a bigger and bigger political divide between red and blue states. I do think that being a landowner in a blue state is going to be a good financial decision down the line. And when you look at the history of the cost of housing broadly in the United States, most of the time houses retain or gain value. That's not to say that there's never been a period of time where houses don't gain value, see the Great Recession. And that's not to say that specific areas of the country don't have houses that do not go up in value. But again, in the Northeast, largely houses are going up in value and at significant rates. Now, climate change may change that. I've already seen my homeowner's insurance go up. We're going to talk about that in a second. But in general, I am glad to have a little piece of property and to be on the homeowner ladder. Now, the cons of owning a home, first and foremost, everything costs money. There's no calling the landlord when the toilet gets clogged or there's a leak in the roof. Like, I am the landlord. That's me. I just look in the mirror and say, hey girl, get on this. And being in the Northeast, a famously expensive place, everything is so expensive. Every contractor, every piece of wood, everything I buy from Lowe's, oh my God, so pricey. And in addition to being expensive, the house is a huge time suck. That has really blown my mind. I was just talking to a friend last week and she said to me, yeah, I really feel like since you've moved, you have been really hard to get a hold of. And it's because I am constantly putting my phone in Do Not Disturb so that I can do something for my house, whether that be something cosmetic or something that I enjoy doing like gardening, or whether that is something that is just time consuming and expensive but needs to be done. It's all sucking up all of my free time. I really, really feel that owning a home is a part-time job. And my house, moving in, I knew it needed some work. But it wasn't in bad shape. It wasn't like, we gotta redo the entire electric system. We gotta redo all the plumbing. We have to add an extension. It was not major projects like that. And yet still, I'm spending so much time on this house. And finally, because my house is only 690 square feet, I really do fear that it will not appreciate the way that larger houses do. Yes, I'm in a fairly desirable location. Yes, I'm glad to be on the property ladder. And a 690 square foot house, a 2-bed, 1-bath house, is just not going to appreciate the same way a 3-bed, 2-bath does, or a 4-bed, 2-bath does. And so I am a little nervous when I sit down and I look at my numbers of how much money I have put into the house. I am wondering if and when I will ever get that money back if I do decide to sell. And speaking of costs, let's look at the cost so far. So as previously mentioned, I put $30,000 down for the house and $10,000 in closing costs. I also put $7,000 cash into the roof. That was to fix a leak and add gutters, and then I just ended up doing the whole roof over again after tariffs went into effect. I don't trust Donald Trump. That man is a scammer through and through. The way that he is yo-yoing with tariffs really makes me very, very nervous for when it comes to big purchases. And after he got elected, I was like, there's just no way the cost of my roof is going to get cheaper in the next 2 to 3 years, which was when my roof was going to need to be redone anyway. So I just went ahead. I just dove in. I said, I'm doing it. Then I also spent $7,100 on new windows. Again, not something that needed to be done immediately. My windows probably could have lasted another 3 to 4 years easily. But again, I got nervous about tariffs and I was able to finance my windows at 0% interest for 18 months. And the monthly payment is less than my HYSA, my high yield savings account, pays me every month. So I am essentially getting these windows for free because I am making those monthly payments with the interest that my HYSA earns. Not gonna lie, I feel like that's a major win for me. And I also think that that speaks to the power of setting yourself up for your money to make more money. My savings and investments are things I've been working on for a decade, and they are now in a place where my money has my back in a way that never existed for me when I was 22, 24, 27. I've spent $1,432 on what I call house function, which is tools that we needed, like the lawnmower. We got a snipper thing for plants. I don't know what it's called, like a clipper, you know, that you see in the movies that they're like clipping the hedges. I don't know what it's called. Let me know in the comments. Heating oil. I have a heating oil tank that I need to fill twice a year. I got knobs for my kitchen cabinets because when we moved in, there were no knobs and it was like weirdly difficult to open them. So things that basically make the house run and provide things like heating and cooling. And then I've also spent $1,151 on furniture. Now, we brought our bed, we brought our couch, we brought my desk, we brought this chair, but like I said, the house has basically no storage. So I bought this bookcase, I bought a cabinet, I bought another bookcase for the living room. Some of the things I got thrifted, some of the things I bought new because the sizing of my house is odd. Some of that also includes some things like when we moved in, there was an above the range microwave and then it died 3 months in, so I had to buy a new microwave, which I did get thrifted for $15. But nonetheless, it's all money going out to make the house more functional. And finally, every single month, I have been paying $34 towards the mortgage principal. So I pay my monthly mortgage payment every single month, and then I am paying an additional $34 towards just the principal. And this is a way of speeding up my payoff schedule and paying off my mortgage early. Paying just $34 a month is going to save me nearly $28,000 in interest and help me pay off my mortgage 21 months early. As we are now at 1 year, I've decided to increase that $34 to $55 a month, and T-Bone, my partner, is going to contribute that additional $21. Before, I was just paying the $34 myself, and now I'm like, get in here, buddy, help me out with this. And that increases our savings to $48,000. So just an additional $20, $21 a month is saving us $20,000 on interest, an additional $20,000 in interest, which is like, that's so well worth it. $55 is like one meal out here. So to skip one meal out and save nearly 50 grand in interest over the life of the loan, so worth it. Sorry, I'm leaning so aggressively towards the camera. I'm just like, oh my God, $49,000 is so much money. Now, additionally, when it comes to the finances of the house, I bought well under what I was approved for. And in this housing market, with interest rates being so high, I strongly recommend you do the same if you are looking to buy a house. My interest rate is 7.6%. It's bananas high. And yes, I'm looking to refinance, but the interest rates remain high. Grandpa Moneybags, AKA Jerome Powell, Chair of the Federal Reserve, does not want to lower interest rates because of fear of inflation. And I really get that and respect that from an economic point of view. But from a homeowner point of view, I'm very frustrated with my 7.6% interest rate. But because my rate is so high, I am so glad that I bought a $300,000 home. I was approved for up to $600K. And if I had bought a $600K house with a 7.6% interest rate, I could not afford that mortgage, just flat out could not afford it. I'd be looking at like $5,000 a month in a mortgage, and just, that's not realistic for my income and my budget. And I will say, when you're buying a house, there is a shocking amount of pressure to just go up a little bit to get what you really want. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to that. And I say pressure, some of it did come from my real estate team, but honestly, I put a lot of that pressure on myself because you're already spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you begin to see amounts like $50,000 or $100,000 as like, well, what's an extra 50K? You know, like what's an extra $100,000? What's really the big difference between going between 300,000 and 400,000? But that's when you need to stop. You need to take a deep breath and you need to do the math. Run your numbers with those interest rates and see what an extra $100,000 in housing prices really costs you. Because for me, it increased my monthly payment dramatically, and I'm so glad I did not go that way. Looking down the line as a homeowner, there are more costs to come. I am sure something major is going to break in the next 5 years. You know, like maybe I will, God forbid, have a plumbing problem and I'll have to pay for it. But kind of in terms of costs on the docket, I know I want to refinance, so I'm beginning to save for that right now. Other than that, I don't have any major repairs planned. I've done 2 of the biggest and most expensive house projects that most homeowners run into, the roof and the windows already. So that brings us to the question of, was it worth it? And honestly, my answer is, I don't know. When you look at the numbers, I don't think it was worth it. Like, I have spent so much money in the first year, and because of its size and its potential appreciation rate, like, I don't know how that's going to shake out. I don't know if that's going to shake out in my favor, honestly. So one could say, this was the dumbest financial move I've ever made when you just look at the past 12 months. However, I plan to own this home for many years to come. So we will see how those numbers shake out. And like I said, owning a home comes with benefits that are not purely financial. The peace of mind that I feel living here, the closeness to my friends and family, living in an area of the country that I like and that I feel safe in. I mean, can you put a price on that? I would argue no. I think what I would say to people who are considering buying a home in 2025 or 2026 is really, really run the numbers and make sure that you are going to have cash post-purchase. So you're going to want to have your down payment and your closing costs, yes, but you're also going to want to have cash on hand for things that you will need immediately upon moving into the house. You will have to buy a piece of furniture. You will have to buy something like heating oil or have higher gas bills or something. Like something is going to pop up when you move into a new space. That's how houses work. So make sure that you have an amount in savings that is not your emergency fund, that is on top of your emergency fund, that makes you feel secure in becoming a homeowner. I am so glad I did that. All right, y'all, if you're a homeowner of many years, please reassure me in the comments or tell me what your experience has been in the comments. I always want to hear from y'all. Like this video and make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss a new video.